As we do continue, the Three Dog Thursday video roundtable is back. And man, oh man, I've been looking forward to this for about a day and a half, getting all of my guys together. It is championship weekend in the NFL. That sort of interesting AFC championship game has the Bills playing at the defending world champion Chiefs. Enough about that game. We'll maybe mention that once or twice more in the video roundtable. But it is Buccaneers, go Bucs, Buccaneers, and the Green Bay Packers from Lambeau Field. And again, if you're only hearing us on the podcast, the audio podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, if you found us through a social media link, come find the YouTube roundtable, see what we look like, including, let's introduce them all around a room. From Las Vegas, T.C. Martin of the T.C. Martin Show, 5 days a week out in Las Vegas. Initials brother from another mother out west. How are you feeling, sir?
Doing great. Great to be with you again, my friend, and ready to talk a little football.
Absolutely, we are. And I should mention TC kind of did a prison sentence, spent some time in Green Bay, and has some great insight from his previous radio career there. That other smiling face in blue works at my alma mater, the former Memphis State, now the University of Memphis. Gary Segars, co-host along with Chris Giannini of the Winning Cures Everything podcast and show. These guys have been killing it for the last 3 or 4 years. Love some insight. It would not be championship weekend unless I can get some love from Gary Segars on the program. Mr. Winning Cures, good to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. So hey, by the way, don't know if I told you, we are re-upping. We are continuing on with sportsbookreview.com. So sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. We are continuing the college football show even through the offseason. So yeah, NFL, college football. We got some big MMA stuff coming up this weekend. So yeah, we're pretty fired up for all of it.
I love it. And again, these guys have great insight, he and Chris, on everything football, including the NFL. So we're going to lean on that. And now, just to show the depth and the breadth of what we do, we got TC in Las Vegas. My man Segars is in the Mid-South in Memphis, Tennessee. Let's go all the way transatlantic to England, where the biggest Buccaneer fan that I probably know, certainly the biggest one outside of the Tampa Bay area, the historian of the franchise from the website buckpower.com, and if you're not seeing this, come find the YouTube page, in a throwback orange Buccaneer jersey as we speak. Looks like you got a Bucco Bruce helmet on the side. Hold that up for the TV audience just briefly if you can too. He is touting Bucco Bruce as well. Paul Stewart of buckpower.com. How are you, my friend, as we're days away at the time we're taping for Bucs, Packers, and a chance to go to the Super Bowl?
Very well, TJ. It's a fantastic time to be a Tampa Bay sports fan. We've had the Lightning win the Stanley Cup. We've had the Rays in the World Series. We could now just be one game away from the Buccaneers becoming the first team to play in a Super Bowl in their own home stadium.
Yeah, it is crazy. At the time that we're taping, guys, they were undergoing a Wednesday afternoon workout in the shadow of Raymond James Stadium with all the banners up saying Super Bowl 55. I mean, if you need any greater incentive that it's literally right across the street from you, when you get back from Lambeau Field, you have a chance to play in the Super Bowl right over there. It was pretty interesting to see some of that video that the Bucs were putting out earlier today. All right, let's jump right in with that. I will put this up on the screen. What a performance. You pretty well know what Paul and I think about what the Bucs were able to do last week. We're looking on the screen at Tom Brady winning his 32nd playoff game, his second one with the Bucs from last week's contest as they defeat the New Orleans Saints in the Superdome. Final score 30-20 in this one in comeback fashion. What a battle this was in the Superdome. All right, TC, let's just go around the room again. Your thoughts. We've had some time now to digest that before we get into the matchup with the Packers. How impressive were the Buccaneers to you all the way out in Vegas with that win in the Big Easy?
Well, as you know, they were an underdog in this game, and there weren't a lot of people that were giving the Bucs much of a shot because, you know, the theory, hey, Tampa Bay handled them rather easily in the first two matchups. Again, playing at home in New Orleans, even though without the crowd, conventional wisdom said that Tampa Bay was going to take care of business again. And we've seen the Saints.
Or the New Orleans was. The Saints were going to take care of business again.
Exactly. And we've seen the Saints choke in playoffs games in years past. So a lot of people thought it's not going to happen again this year. They have the Buccaneers number. But lo and behold, as this game progressed and we got into the second half, specifically into the fourth quarter, it became apparent that it was going to be Brady time. And Brady was better than Breeze that day, plain and simple. So kudos to the Bucs. For me, not a big shocking surprise because I did bet the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a teaser pleaser. So I was very happy of getting double digits on this. And again, take the GOAT, take Tom Brady. As you mentioned many times, TJ, in a domeless stadium with fans. Again, Tom Brady, very, very comfortable. The Bucs seem to have their way. But for me, this game all boiled down to what the Tampa Bay defense did. They've gotten relatively healthy, more healthy than they ever have been. So, they've got the mojo going right now. So congratulations to the Bucs on that victory. Looking forward to Sunday. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun with the Packers. Gary, your thoughts seeing the Buccaneers get it done in New Orleans?
Maybe I should be surprised. I'm not, because it's the Saints losing in the playoffs. I mean, that's become a typical thing here. And Drew Brees, on this tail end of his career, we had seen signs of this going back, weeks now. Ever since he came back from his rib injury, he has not looked great. He's got no zip on the ball. And then of course you have to worry about Michael Thomas. He hadn't played in forever. There was just a whole lot there that equated to a Bucs victory. I think the Bucs are great. Like, you look at their DVOA numbers, you look at all of these statistical stuff. This is a great football team. So it shouldn't have been any kind of a shock, especially with no fans and all that. I don't think it would be any shock at all this weekend. They come in again as an underdog. But remember, they handled the Packers earlier this year. And, I think it's a good matchup for them. I will definitely say that.
Well, and we should make mention that we'll talk more about the Green Bay game. And you obviously know, you can tell by what I'm wearing if you're with us on the YouTube roundtable here. I've got the hat, I've got the shirt. Paul Stewart, you got to admire, I'm rocking the Super Bowl champion Buccaneer hat from Super Bowl 37 in the background here of the shot. So you know where my allegiance lies here with this. But Paul, I'll kick it to you here. Brady brings this aura of confidence, and I get it's easy to say now, but how confident were you that they were going to pull this off even after New Orleans drove the second half kickoff and scored a touchdown? How confident were you watching in the UK late night last Sunday night?
Well, late night, that game finished around about 3:15 in the morning UK time. So I couldn't say I went wildly overboard with the noisy celebrations for the fact of neighbours being around. I think you're absolutely right. The Buccaneers were loaded with talent going into this season. And I think that's one of the reasons Tom Brady chose to come to Tampa in the first place, because this was a team ready to win. And what he's done is, yes, you could see he's brought that air of confidence. He holds them to such a high, accountability. And you see it on the field when he yells at them for a wrong route or a misplay. And I think that's what he's brought to them, that all the other players now look around and they see the greatest of all time behind centre, throwing the ball, calling them out. And that's what led them to that victory, that even when they went, 7 points down third quarter, they knew they were going to come back and win that game.
All right, we will talk a little bit about the Browns and the Bills, but we're sticking right here with the Buccaneers and what they were able to do. TC, again, we'll just kind of go in order, batting order. TC, Tom Brady wins his 32nd playoff game, as I mentioned. That was his 78th touchdown pass, 77th and 78th in that last game. It is incredible the success he's had, 6 Super Bowl wins, multi-time Super Bowl MVP. How much does this add to the legacy? Barring now not anything that he's going to do from here on out, but to this point, how much does it add to the legacy to get Tampa Bay in the playoffs for the first time in 13 years and then win 2 playoff games? What say you out in Vegas?
Yeah, it goes to show you, again, the greatest of all time. And I think a lot of people going into this season were wondering what was going to transpire with Brady and the Bucs and Arians in the system. And again, he's been playing, in New England with that same system for for his entire career. So again, I think it just cements his legacy. It just continues to add to it. He doesn't have to do anything else. And he didn't have to do anything else this year. I mean, he could have, came to Tampa Bay and this team could have gone 8-8. It's not going to affect Tom Brady's legacy, but I think it's great because this is something that I think it's good for football. I think it's great for Tom Brady. I think it's great for Tampa. It's great for that franchise. And I've honestly been enjoying watching, Tom Brady. I've always been a big fan of his. And, to see him basically play in kind of pristine weather conditions for the most part, whether it's outside in Tampa or the indoor conditions and everything, I just think this has been a great year. Doesn't look anything like he's 43. And why can't he continue to play for another 3 or 4 years? I know that sounds crazy, but but really, I mean, but look at what the guy's done now. Early on, there were some question marks like, okay, is age creeping into factor? Doesn't seem to have the zip on his ball, but that zip seems to be back. And for me, I believe it's just a comfortability factor that he has with Bruce Arians' system. And then, with Godwin and with Cameron Brate, and the rest of the receivers, Mike Evans and all these guys, you can just see him getting more and more comfortable with these guys in the system week in and week out. So I've enjoyed the run.
No doubt. And Gary, I'm coming to you, but just I can testify I was not at the 2 playoff games. Again, we're broadcasting those remotely and off of TV because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We're not traveling. Unfortunately, I will not be there in Green Bay, TC Martin, for this weekend just because of the concerns such as life. But being down there at field level late in the regular season and watching him against Minnesota guys, and for the audience here on Three Dog Thursday, watching him at the end of the year in the final game with the Atlanta Falcons, he still got the arm. He can still make the throws. The zip is on the deep ball. So Gary Segars, how impressive is that heading up to Green Bay, that unlike Drew Brees, who was really faltering badly physically and unable to throw the ball down the field here at the end of his career, same could probably be said for Peyton Manning too. At the end of his career in the Super Bowl win, he couldn't get zip on the ball down the field anymore either, but Brady can. What about that aspect, Gary, real quick?
Well, it is definitely impressive. I think as far as legacy, TC was talking about there's nothing he could really add to his legacy or anything that would have taken away from it. What this does, though, for his legacy as far as a businessman, this is a gigantic billboard for his TB12 method, right? All of these other quarterbacks that just eventually fall apart, and this guy he seems indestructible. I mean, I feel like an old man. All right, I've got 2-year-old. I've got a 15-year-old.
Just wait.
It pains me to get out of the bed in the mornings. And this guy is 43 years old and looks like he's 20 something, like he just came out of college. So yes, it's absolutely impressive on that end, because he could play another 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, if he keeps going at the same rate that he's going, I think the issues that they had at the beginning of the season were exactly what TC was talking about. It was comfortability. It was trying to figure out that offense, get the chemistry down, because I think the zip wasn't on the ball because he wasn't sure where he was throwing it. He wasn't sure who he was throwing to, etc. Now,
no preseason, no working very much in the offseason whatsoever. So it did take a little bit of time to kick it in. Finish your thought. I didn't mean to
you noticed. So when Antonio Brown came in, that he's comfortable with him. You saw a little bit of a shift when he came in later in the season. So I think, you keep this thing going the way that it is, and you keep him comfortable with the guys that he's got in there, keep him comfortable in that offense. He could play there for, a while at this point.
How does the elbow hold up? How does the shoulder hold up at age 44, 45? We don't know. We know what we have right now. Obviously. There is no confirmation that Paul Stewart has gone on a steady diet of like tree bark and bran and whatever else that Tom Brady is eating, and the TB12 method. No confirmation of that. You know the long history of Buccaneers, most of it losing, but they've had Doug Williams was a playoff quarterback for the Buccaneers in the orange that you're wearing, Paul Stewart, later won a Super Bowl. Steve Young was in the orange you were wearing and later won a Super Bowl. We can't really remark Trent Dilfer also wore the orange and the red and the pewter. The Super Bowl wasn't as much from him. It was the Ravens defense. But Brady right now in those colors, this is something special. Give me the historical perspective. Paul Stewart from buckpower.com, please.
Well, something I was just thinking about is there have been a number of well-known famous quarterbacks have gone on to other teams at the end of their careers. You think of Joe Namath went to the Rams. You had Brett Favre went to the Vikings and Jets. Joe Montana went to the Chiefs. They never won anything with those teams. So they went, but that move has been forgotten. Their legacy is just with their previous teams. So I think if Brady was to go on and get to the Super Bowl and even win a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers, it would just put him not just on from the pedestal he's on now, it will put him so far out of reach. You might as well just give up for the next 100 years because no one's ever going to do that again. And that's where I think that's what he now sees, that he can create a legacy that's never been done in any other sport.
Very interesting. And it's worth noting here that if Brady and the Buccaneers win this game with Green Bay and get to the Super Bowl, he joins 3 other quarterbacks that would get there with another team. Those are Craig Morton. We remember that name. TC and I are older. Paul's a little older than Gary. Craig Morton with the Cowboys and the Broncos. Kurt Warner with the Rams and the Cardinals. And then Peyton Manning, like we're mentioning, with the Broncos. And Manning is the only one that got the championship going to the new team after being with the Colts and getting a championship with them. Brady has a chance to be number 5. You had one more point, Paul? I saw the hand up.
Yeah, I mean, just to say the story that we were talking about Drew Brees, and it's a shame to see his career end on such a bad note like that. But of course, Father Time is undefeated. But remember, TJ, I'm the man who live on British television in 2002 said, I don't think Drew Brees will ever be a successful quarterback in the NFL.
He has been killing them with all the great info and takes for 2 decades on British TV and elsewhere, including on buckpower.com. I think it worked out pretty well for that Breeze guy.
Yeah, that one, they replay that clip about once a year for me. They played it again last weekend. I'm fine by it. When you're in the media, sometimes you say things that don't quite work out, and that was one of them.
Yeah, no doubt. I need that clip to run that back to keep Stewart in his place. TC, did you have one more thought before I move on?
I just wanted to jump
Bills?
on to what Paul said, because he brought up a great point about some of those other quarterbacks. Let me pose this question to you guys. So Brett Favre got to the NFC Championship game with the Vikings. Joe Montana got to the AFC Championship game with the Chiefs. And people kind of forget that. But what you mentioned, TJ, is Craig Morton and Peyton Manning actually and got to the Super Bowl and actually won it. So if the Buccaneers do lose on Sunday, are we going to think of Tom Brady as just, well, he had that, one season with them, just like Montana did and just like Favre did? I think it's a
Gary,
different discussion.
Gary, you're distant from it. I'm close to it. Gary, your thought, just real quick.
I don't think that it would take anything away. I don't think that we would look at Joe Montana or at Peyton Manning or any of those as being better than Brady if they end up losing this weekend, right? I don't believe that, just because, Brady's already considered.
And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the way we'll look back at it, they'll remember his career for being a New England Patriot. Like Montana will remember his career for being a 49er. And the same thing Favre, as a Packer. But I think it does take it to another level because, like you said, Peyton Manning got there with the Broncos as well. And it just adds to, not just adds to the legacy, but it gives you a little different vibe than, this guy was old. He got there almost, but he didn't quite win it all.
Yeah, it makes you remember that, right? So if he wins a Super Bowl with the Bucs, then you automatically remember the end of his career with the Bucs. A lot of the other ones, you remember their highest achievements with the team that they did it with, right? So if it's Brady in the Super Bowls,
or what you do last, and so in the case of Manning, he rode off into the sunset and did it last, and that was it. Favre got to the championship game, but he couldn't ride off doing it last. He actually played another season in Minnesota, and they couldn't get it done.
I think it's
fair enough. Go ahead, Paul.
It's when you look on the internet, you see pictures of John Unitas or Joe Namath in different uniforms. It just thinks that's an anomaly. And even though Peyton Manning, you still think of him as a Colt, even though he won it with the Broncos. And I think that the fact with Brady having done so much with the Patriots, to then see him do it with the Buccaneers, a team that hadn't won a playoff game for 18 years, that's where I think he would go to another level.
Well, and I can testify here, Paul and I are in agreement, and all around the Tampa Bay area, I know everybody here wants to see them beat the Packers and wants to see them in the Super Bowl in the home stadium to win. This is a success right now. The fact that they got to 11 wins, which hadn't happened in 15 years, as Paul just said, won a playoff game, not just one, but 2. This is only the second time they've ever won 2 playoff games. And the other time was the Super Bowl year in 2002. This is a success right now on the local regional fandom level. It is. Now let's see what happens with the matchup with the Packers. We'll get a final thought on that from the whole group. I only got a few moments left with TC Martin in Vegas, Gary Segars, Winning Cures Everything podcast out of Memphis, Paul Stewart, buckpower.com out of England here with me. All right, we're taking a look at it on the screen as well. The other matchup has the Buffalo Bills taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. We're looking at a photo on the YouTube roundtable of Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, staggering in the third quarter, went out of the game with what was deemed a concussion. He's in concussion protocol right now at the time that we're taping this. I don't think any of the four of us and anybody with any brains in the audience believes that he isn't playing Sunday. He's going to play. They're going to give it a shot. They're going to clear him. What do you make of this? Just real quick. We'll again go in the batting order. TC, quick thought here on Mahomes and quickly the matchup with the Bills.
I think Mahomes definitely is going to play. There's no question about it. I'm really not worried about the concussion because the way we saw him run off the field and into the locker room, he wanted to get back in the game. So the NFL was not going to allow him to do that, especially in the playoff game. But he's going to be ready to go from that standpoint. He's already passed a couple of the protocol tests. He's got to complete 5 of them. So that's not the issue. But there is a slight issue with his turf toe. And just to put this in perspective, Steve Berline, the former quarterback, he's a regular on my show. He came on yesterday and was talking about how painful of an injury and the injection that you have to go through, before this thing goes. He was in excruciating pain like he's never had before, just going through those shots. And that could actually be a factor. Now it's not on his plant foot, which is a good thing. And we saw how gingerly he was running before, but I believe that this toe injury is going to be a little bit of a factor, much more so than the concussion. But all that being said, we see what Kansas City has done against Buffalo earlier on this year, where they ran all over them. But, the Chiefs have not been impressive, guys. They haven't been impressive all year. And from a Vegas perspective, they're 1-9 against the point spread in their last 10 games. They haven't beaten an opponent by more than 6 points. This is crazy. And this is a 14-2 team. And you throw out the second loss because, they threw their, Chad Henne in there to start the final game of the season. They threw that game away. But this Buffalo story is something phenomenal. I mean, they have been on a roll. And in my opinion, they are the hottest team along with the Green Bay Packers right now. And Buffalo's coming into their win this game. I have some reservations about Buffalo's defense, if they can actually stop all the weapons that the Kansas City Chiefs have offensively. But this is going to be one heck of a football game. And as we know, guys, it is so difficult to repeat and go back to back. I would not be shocked if we're saying go Buffalo next week.
How about the last time they were in the AFC Championship game was against Montana and the Chiefs, like we were talking about. My God, right. 27 years ago for the Bills. Right. They went 4 years in a row. The last time was against Montana and the Chiefs, and they won the game. Gary, quick thought on Mahomes, how effective he'll be. What kind of shot does Buffalo have? Give me a quick answer.
I think that the Chiefs have been playing with fire all season long. I don't believe that as a team you can just flip a switch and turn it on when you want to, right? Especially against a team as well coached as Buffalo. The defense has not been there all year. However, towards the end of the regular season and on into the playoffs, that defense has absolutely shown up. Brian Dable and what he's doing with that offense is unbelievable. Josh Allen, I said that was the bust from that draft. And I was and myself, along with a lot of people, were just dead wrong. He is, it goes to show what a number one receiver can do. A guy that has a significant catch radius that can really go out and get the ball like Stephon Diggs, right? Because they have figured out, okay, our running game is not all that great, but we can use Stephon Diggs in a ton of different ways. They can get him the ball on bubble screens. They can get him on jet routes. They can get him on all sorts of different stuff, right? And they can also throw the ball deep and let him go get it. And there's nobody that can stop that, even the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs don't show up in this spot, I think this is a game that the Bills can absolutely win, even on the road. I think the Bills are playing better than any team in football right now. That includes the Bucs. That includes the Packers. I like this Bills team a lot. I think they are going to get the win this week.
Wow. How about that? He's calling for an outright win by Buffalo. Paul, one quick thought from you, just real quick. Mahomes, how effective? Bills, what kind of chance? What say you?
My interest in the AFC Championship game depends on if the Bucs win. Because if they win, I want to watch the game to see who they're going to play in the Super Bowl. If they lose, my television is being turned off, and I'm more concerned when the pitchers and catchers report. When the Bucs beat the Eagles in the championship game in 2002, I didn't work that game for British TV because I was so convinced the Bucs were going to lose. There was no way I was going to sit in the studio watch that game, and then have to commentate on the AFC title game afterwards. So, as I said, I'd love to. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm going to join the other two guys. I think Buffalo pull the upset. As an outright win, not just against the spread. But as I said, my only interest is if the Bucs win, who do they play in the Super Bowl?
And we should.
I have a question. I have a question for Paul there. I want to know. So if the Bucs lose, and you're not going to watch the second game, will there be a penguin on the telly? Will there be a penguin on top of the telly? And you guys know what I'm talking about. I hope you got some old school Monty Python knowledge right
Monty
there.
Python
That's what I'm talking about.
Gary doesn't know anything about Monty Python, but yes, the little Monty Python. He
years
might turn on the cricket. He might turn on the cricket. Something else.
Stereotyping the English here by any chance?
Yeah, we might have to.
Not at all.
On the podcast.
Penguin
all right, so let me
put
it. Yes, all right, TC, stop it. Let's look at what we have here from our friends at WinBet, one of the sponsors on Three Dog Thursday. Again, if you're only hearing us, we're watching this on the YouTube roundtable, and on those WinBet lines that are currently out, that both teams are only the field goal. That's interesting too. You see Green Bay favored by 3.5 and Kansas City only by 3. Very interesting. And you've already heard two of our guests say they think that the Buffalo Bills will win outright. I think you know where my allegiance lies, where Paul's allegiance lies for the NFC title game that will be coming up. So we have that there as well. All right, so TC Martin, where did TC go? Did he completely disappear on me, I think, on the YouTube roundtable? I'm not sure where he went. But in any event, Buccaneers and the Green Bay Packers, I think TC is back here. What do you have, a jersey or something?
Well, I didn't know that we were getting dressed to impress today, so I got to go ahead and make a costume change. Now we're gonna start breaking down this game, and you're starting.
You got like 2 minutes total here. He's putting on a Packers shirt. TC used to work.
Join the party right now.
Yes, you used to work in Green Bay.
Here we go. I'm gonna join this party. I'm gonna join Paul. I mean, we've got Mr. Memphis, Gary Segars there. You're in the. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
So here's the biggest thing that is about this before we leave here on the program. Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay in the championship game at home for the first time since 2008, January 2008, the 2007 playoffs. They lost. And the symmetry between the New York Giants, who beat the Dallas Cowboys that year after the Cowboys had beaten them twice, guys. You all are nodding along. The Cowboys had beaten them twice. Eli and the Giants beat the Cowboys. The next week, they beat the top-seeded Packers in Green Bay. And then they beat Brady and the Patriots at 18-0 in the Super Bowl. So some interesting symmetry there. TC, Aaron Rodgers does have a Super Bowl, but he has also 3 NFC championship game losses in a row now to Seattle, to Atlanta, and last year to San Francisco. Meanwhile, Tom Brady 9-4 in the AFC Championship game. This is advantage Buccaneers, whether you put on the Packer crap or not. This is advantage Bucs, babe.
It's not advantage Bucs at all. And I'll point to you again, my friend. They've beaten 2 teams all season with a winning record. Be it one of those the Packers in week number 6. I understand that. Okay,
that's right.
However, you mentioned those other Packers failures. Those were on the road. This is an NFC championship game at Lambeau Field. And the bottom line is the Packers are a much better team this year than they were last year. Last year, they were void at stopping the run. They went to San Francisco, and San Francisco ran all over the place. And again, I cannot see that happening this week. The Packers, like we talked about, along with Buffalo, playing the best football of just about anybody. I just don't see how that Buccaneers defense with your boy Murphy Bunting and company are going to have to stop Aaron Rodgers. I just can't see it, TJ.
They stopped him in October. By the way, just to help you for your show later today, and Gary's got this on Winning Cures, and Paul may or may not know this, for all the knocks on the Bucs beating the Saints last week, and it's only the second win against a team with a winning record. Green Bay, by the way, has 3 wins after their win last week over the Rams against teams with a winning record. It ain't like they've been beating murderers row either to get to this point. So
but they're scoring 40 points a game, as you know.
We'll say
the number one 40, offense.
They didn't score 40 in October in Tampa. I believe they scored 30 less. I believe they scored 10, and they had to pull Rodgers out of the game for the hits.
Week number 6. So absolutely correct. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if that ends up mattering for this week. All right, let me do this because my guys have got to get out of here on the YouTube roundtable. Let me promote all of them. You see Gary Segars right here on Twitter. Follow him at Gary WCE, as we've been promoting with the Winning Cures Everything podcast. Here is the Winning Cures Everything webpage. You can find out everything at winningcureseverything.com. Find them on YouTube. Find them through Periscope. They have that live show. Winning Cures Everything is where you find Gary. TC Martin babbles on the TC Martin Show about the Packers and all things in Vegas, including the spread. By the way, TC will confess, will you not, to the audience? You were on the Bucs last week against the Saints, but you teased it on the teaser card up to +10 because you weren't that confident. You did not need that teaser card, my friend.
I did not need that teaser card. But then again, I like to manipulate the line as much as humanly possible, and I was never sweating in that game, my friend.
You were not with +10. TC Martin 21 is how you find him on Twitter. Again, the definitive historian of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is Paul Stewart, and the site is buckpower.com. You're seeing it on the screen right here on the YouTube roundtable. He has every game, every player, everything, every recap, all of it on buckpower.com. And again, find the Facebook page as well for buckpower.com. Search it through Paul Buckpower Stewart. Oh, we're looking at a video there of the Buccaneers earlier this week, the anniversary of the NFC Championship game win against the Philadelphia Eagles. A good omen for the Bucs 18 years later. It's on Paul's Facebook page. It's on the website, buckpower.com. Guys, we got to go here on this edition of the Roundtable. TC Martin in Vegas, Gary Segars in Memphis, Paul Stewart in England. I hope we're rejoicing Sunday night for the Bucs to be in the Super Bowl. We'll see what happens. Guys, thank you. I appreciate you hanging out with me on Three Dog Thursday. Well done, all of you.
Absolutely. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Great being
Bye
with you
from
guys.
London.